Good day, everyone. It's good to be back again. Uh, so today we are going to discuss about how Europe is buying gas from China. The gas is coming from Russia. Then China is acting as the middleman. So thanks everyone who has been subscribing and engaging me in the comments. I really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get straight away. So because of the sanction that European countries cannot import Russian gas and oil. Europe is in dire need of gas, especially because Europe was dependent on gas more than oil. So because of the embargo, they cannot. Most European countries cannot transact directly with Russia. So what they've done is that they've devised a way to transact with China. So China is not an oil-producing country, but it's buying high amounts of gas from LNG from Russia. So what happens is that Russia sells Chinese the LNG, and then the Chinese liquefy it, and then they sell it to Europe 2 to 3 times higher the price. That's why the prices of oil in Europe are very high. When you look at this, you start to realize that it's very interesting that Europe was trying to avoid working with Russia, and saying that buying oil from Russia is sponsoring the war in Ukraine. But it's interesting that now they are working with China, which is another adversary of, because NATO has also said that one of its long-term adversaries is China. So when you see this, you start to realize that uh, probably, beggars are not choosers, and it shows that the position where Europe is a bit desperate. They're racing around the clock to get LNG by December. Right now, the Chinese have a lot of LNG, because one might ask why are Chinese selling LNG to Europe is because they have a lot. Remember that China has been having a zero COVID policy. So through these massive lockdowns that have been extending for the last till this year, since 2020, so domestic consumption of energy has gone down by 20%. Factories are down, so they have a surplus of gas, and that's why they are selling it to Europe. And so Europe must also hope that China cannot be a reliable supply of gas, because once the Chinese economy starts rising again, you start to see that they will immediately cut off the supply, and Europe needs to find another source. And another thing is because China is now uh, trying to become a bit energy sufficient in terms of, trying to utilize its own energy reserves before it start uh, depending so much on import. When you look at even China now, it has pulled back on its aim for, to promote its industry to go green, and it's going back to the old system of energy, because now coal production has been ramped up from, for almost, it was like 1 million tons of coal, but now they're almost going to 1 billion. How much coal is being burned to produce energy? So coal production has increased, um, and China also has gas, has some gas deposit domestic, they mine gas deposit, so they've increased the production of gas to improve the energy. So that shows you that also China is very energy hungry, and it has decided that because how the situation is looking shaky around the world, it needs also to exploit all form of energies, and climb back a bit down on going green. And you saw that even when Pelosi visited Taiwan, they immediately, removed themselves from the committee, or from the pact that they had with America uh, of discussing climate change and implementing laws and measures to ensure that both of the energy become clean energy producers and reduce emissions. So they withdrew from that because right now, the way the world is going, it seems that climate change initiatives will have to wait for a while, because even when you go to Europe, coal production is high. They're now using gas. Germany the other day, it was even thinking of starting to mine, you know, on its shoreline, as a decision that has never come to Germany's mind. They had said they will never do it, but now it was even put on the table. They have stopped shutting down their nuclear power plants. Coal production is high, so they are getting coal all the way from South Africa, from Colombia. So when you look at how things are going, it seems that climate change initiative might take a while. So when you look at the Chinese and the selling LNG to Europe. The Chinese have been making a lot of money. I was just reading at a Bloomberg, and they were saying that one of the companies, the big companies in China, Sinopec, was saying that one cargo ship can give them tens of millions of dollars, even 100. And so far, they've delivered 45 shipping cargos. As of now, 7% of gas that's coming to Europe is coming from China. And so China is now a big energy player. And it's very interesting how this geopolitical will play around, because that the America has been twisting the Europeans not to have relationships with China and Europe. And now Europe is heavily dependent on China. And the irony is that some months ago, China was all over India's case of funding the war through buying oil from Russia. But now it seems that Europe, it seems they were preaching wine and they were preaching water and drinking wine. So it's very interesting to see how far, like how rules change when people are desperate, countries are desperate, or let's just me say that how rules change when, the interest of the countries comes ahead. And, the one who is winning, the people who are winning on this game is Putin and Xi. They seem to be winning now because it seems like the sanctions are not, on the face value, the sanctions might look they're working, but underneath the table, they're probably hurting Europe as much as they're hurting Russia, because right now Xi Jinping and Putin, they seem to be very smart in the political game, because now they're making a lot of money because Putin is selling gas to China, and China is selling gas to Europe. Remember, they're meeting next week at the Shanghai Cooperation Summit. The small, it's more of a security alliance. It's a smaller security alliance. You can't compare it with NATO. NATO is very big, very powerful. This is just a small one, but they're trying to make it active. They're meeting Uzbekistan. So you can see that clearly their friendship is even blossoming, because now even Putin is helping Xi make money, and Xi is helping Putin make money. As we speak now, Russia is the fourth largest trader of as we speak now, Russia is the third largest trader of yuan, the Chinese currency. They've decided, the two countries, that Russia will be selling oil, coal and gas to China, because China is the largest energy consumer as a country, and China will be paying it in yuan and rubles. So Russia is now the third largest trader of yuan. Before the war, they traded 0 yuan. After the war, now they are trading 4%. 4% of the yuan is traded by Russia. The number one spot, obviously, is Hong Kong. Hong Kong trades 70 to 80% of total yuan outside China. Number two is Britain. It trades 6%. And now number three is Russia. And Russia is rising. The domestic market of Russia now, the people, they're using yuan more than ever. This can be also a game changer, because now it seems that the yuan is entering the world as the global reserve currency. When you look at it, it's becoming a reserve currency. You must remember that your yuan is number 4, as a world currency, because you have the dollar, the euro, the pound, the Japanese yen, and then the yuan. I'm sorry, I mean number 5. So it seems that the yuan is now gaining global recognition, and no time it will even surpass the Japanese yen. But and it will be competing now with the pound. Let's remember, because of Brexit, the pound has suffered a heavy assault. And now we see that Ireland also wants to gain independence. If that happens, the pound will even weaken more. So in a few years, probably in 20, 30 years, yuan might now be competing with the dollar and the euro. Let us not forget, because of the dollar strengthening, the euro has been weakening. Although they've raised interest rates up to protect inflation and to maintain the strength of the euro. So when you see at how the geopolitical game is playing, it's very interesting. because now it's an open. It's not a secret anymore that Europe is buying gas from China, and China is not a reliable partner. The Chinese activities have been called upon by the European countries. You see, even when the Chancellor of Germany, when he came into power, immediately the first country visited was China, Japan, even though China is one of their largest trading partners. Daimler, Mercedes, BMWs, all these cars, they are one of their largest markets is China. When China was coming up, the machines that they used to manufacture, most of them came from Germany. But going to Japan, especially Angela Merkel, she had a very good relationship with Xi Jinping. They were wary of each other because of both of their country interests. But Angela Merkel never hesitated to contact Xi Jinping, engage him. But the new Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, I don't want to pronounce his name because I might pronounce it wrong, but he's going to Japan as his first visit. That's a big statement. It shows that the new administration now sees Japan as a worthy partner, because rather than China. And the talks of how China has become authoritarian, its rise is becoming, it's being seen as a violent one, as a war-like minded. It's not the peaceful China that people were expecting. So there are so many things that are playing, and right now that's why you're not hearing Europe talking a lot, because they've realized that. For now, they have to settle what they can, even if it's buying oil from China, Russian oil through China. And then when when they've come to a good position, they can defect and depend on their own. Probability is that they want to push the LNG reserve by 80% before December. And I think they might get to that number, because, I think they're pulling all their resources, their wealth, right now, even though it's going to bring high prices in Europe, there's fears of inflation, and people even saying that Europe is getting inflation. I'm finding it funny, because if Europe has inflation, the whole world will have inflation. Because at the end of the day, most of our banking system, our money systems, they are tied to European banks, especially if in the global south, if in Africa, some Southern Asia, South America, there's no way Europe is going to go to a recession and you're not going to feel that pinch. So that's where we are right now. And I hope everything works out, because we must remember, after the pandemic, the economy was so bad all over the world. Countries in the global south even went deeper into debt because of inflation, the dollar becoming strong. Most of them have borrowed money. The money they borrowed is in dollars. So when interest rates go up, the dollar becomes strong, the debt becomes higher, and their tax base where they're collecting money becomes smaller. So they are very, very straining. We saw even this year, China decided to forgive some countries which had their debt. Country like Lebanon fell into debt. That's very sad. And you remember the Lebanon issue also. The Lebanon issue had also debt crisis, especially in time of COVID. So countries that are coming out of this corona situation and now the war, it seems that it's going to be very tough for all of us, not just for Europeans. So this is not just an European issue. This is a global issue, because you can see even China, the economy is slowing down. There's stagnation. People call it stagflation. The property sector in China, has collapsed. Evergrande, we all know what happened. You go at Russia, you see what the economy is happening. You go Sri Lanka, American inflation is high. Countries like Argentina in South America, you come to Africa, you come to Kenya, Uganda, the same, Nigeria, Ghana. So I think it's time, at this time around, I think it's more of a, I'm not sure if in the 208 issue, we're back in the 208 issue where there was some kind of depression, but at the end of the day, with all this uncertainty and political games and mind games, I just hope everything will work out for everyone, and we'll wait and see, because at the end of the day, I also can't blame blame the Europeans because now they have no choice. I think they've come to a position where they've said, even if, I'd rather have my dignity you know, than eat food that has come, or eat food that has been made out of blood. So they rather have their dignity rather than buy Russian oil, because if enough is enough, the sooner we cut ourselves from this guy, the better. The cut off, it's like it was a very toxic marriage. So the cut off will be painful, but at the end of the day, it will save us so many years, and they might live in prosperity rather than entertaining this kind of relationship and then it come back to haunt them. But as of now, I feel like Putin and Xi, their political game is winning. Uh, Even if the sanctions have affected Russia, I feel like they have affected Europe at the same time, and and the whole world. So, because when you come to Kenya, you find that gas prices are high. You go to Uganda, gas prices are high. We saw OPEC the other day say that it will reduce 100,000 barrels, which they are. OPEC is the organization of petroleum exporting countries. Saudi Arabia is the head. They said they will reduce their barrels by 100,000. So that means that we're reducing their productions when the demand is high. That means that the oil prices will go high and they will make so much money. So at now, it's very tricky. But I wait and see what happens. Keep engaging me in the comments. I like the people who are engaging me, talking to me. Share, subscribe, and like. Till we meet again, guys. Cheers.